Hey everyone, I am getting Tracie added to this. I am Coach Andy, if you don't know who I am. I am the owner and coach here at Run for a Cause. So let me add Tracie to our chat. She's our awesome strength coach and also a runner herself. We're chatting live about a recent blog she put out. So let me get her on before I continue any further here. So give me a second. Invite. All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. Trying to get Tracie in here. Instagram is not helping. Okay. Let's try that again. All right. There we go.
Hi.
It's always something.
Sorry about that.
Always something with technology. All right.
You got my shirt?
Love the sweatshirt. So if you haven't checked out our new merch, it's on the website for purchase. We have a lot of unisex stuff and a couple things that are strictly women's gear. Most of the stuff I think is actually unisex. So lots of different options. But yeah, awesome. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So we are live chatting about Tracie's most recent blog that we just went live with last week. It's called What Happens When You Forget Your Why. And so we'll chat about kind of both of our stories, I think, in this, because it's actually part of the reason that I got the name for the business, Run for a Cause, was kind of because I was grappling with that when I was a young athlete. So I really, really loved this blog. If you haven't checked it out, feel free to go do that. I'll actually save a copy of this to that blog so that you can rewatch this if you would like as well. So check them both out, or check it out if you're live here. Thanks for joining us. But Tracie, we'll go ahead and kick it off to you. Like I said, Tracie is our strength coach. So and she's also a fantastic runner. And so yeah, I'll let her go ahead and tell us a little bit more about kind of where the thought process came from this blog. Like where were you inspired for this specific content, and why what is your why?
Why? What's the why? All good questions. So as you know, Andy, I've been running for a long time, and it was when we started working together and I found Heather, who I run with all the time, that I finally felt like I found my people and who supported me and helped get me to a place that I always thought I could get to, but never could. And it was amazing. It was so good. I was doing things and running times and achieving goals that I never thought I could do, like ever. For so long, my goal was just to run under 3 hours and 20 minutes in the marathon. And so, I got there, I did it. And, just as soon as we started working together, the first marathon that I ran after we started working together, I was like trying to break 3 and I missed it by like 9 seconds. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, how does that even happen? And I imagine this happens with a lot of us runners is we are like, you like latch onto the goal and you're like, oh, I did the thing. How much more can I get? And I remember when I crossed the finish line in Boston of 22, and that was when I just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna have fun. I mean, I was in good shape because we had been working together to train for halves, and it was that feeling of, when you cross that finish line, you're like, I don't ever want this to end. Like it is like the best feeling,
Yeah.
and you can't bottle that up. Like you can't bottle that feeling up and keep it for yourself. No matter how hard you try, no matter
Yeah.
how hard you just want to like hang on to that feeling.
Yeah.
And I just kept searching for that feeling over and over and over again with like one more finish line, trying one more time, and it was good. I ran my half PR the following year and my marathon PR that same year, but it just wasn't that same feeling of accomplishment because I don't, one more minute faster, two more minutes faster, three more, it's not going to make a difference to me. I just felt like in that moment, like I achieved what I at one point viewed impossible, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I just kept trying to find that feeling again, and it is a hard feeling to find.
Oh yeah.
And so once I ran Richmond of 23, which is where I had my PR, I just was kind of like, I think I just need to like step back and just like, I need to like distance myself from the chase of trying to find some time or whatnot, and remember like, why is it that I do
Yeah.
this thing? And it didn't like happen like right away. It's taken me like a long time to like finally come to a place of like, okay, this is why I do it. Because I still would be like, okay, let me just try one more thing. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'll try high rocks. I'll try this. I'll do that.
Yeah.
And it, and I still struggle with it. I'm still like, oh, let me try one more time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as I wrote in that blog post, I think the whole point for me was it's like running is just such a foundation for me. And it's like when I can run, I'm constantly reminded every day that I can do hard things, no
Yeah.
matter what the hard thing is, no matter what that is. Um, so yeah, that's the why behind it. And I think I would love to hear your perspective, like as
Yeah.
runners, like, this struggle that we have where we're always trying to like,
Yeah. 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 I felt like my struggle with it was coming out of college, going from being in a college environment, team surrounding you,
hmm
and that I struggled being alone, and also I had struggled in my performance in my last race of my college career. And to what extent was that, training, or how much of it was mental, and me knowing that it could potentially be my last race. It was regionals of my last year in college. So, it wouldn't have been my last race if I qualified for nationals like I had the 2 years before. But that year I did not qualify in either of my events. So it was kind of like a devastating end to my
hmm
college career. And so it kind of put me in a place where I was super unconfident, like not confident in myself coming
hmm
out of it, that I was like, can I even continue to train and see what I can get out of myself in any regard? And so I kind of didn't really see myself as having a future in running when all of this was going down. And I think actually I had gotten like a or a message on Facebook from someone who was like, you should continue to run. And I like just still remember that. And so I kind
hmm
of, and my college coach also was like, you can continue to do it. You can train with the team, you can be a volunteer assistant. So that was what I ended up doing. But I remember that first year feeling super lost. Like I was like, I don't know what I got. And I feel like I was making weird decisions on what races I was going to run. And it just wasn't cohesive, and it wasn't in a good pattern for me to excel or run well. And then I realized, so my grandfather passed away in 2014, which was
hmm
going into it was part of my first year out of college. And it was there that I noticed he coached football of his life. And at his funeral, there were so many former athletes that he had worked with that that part to me was what made me realize that it can't be about the times that I run anymore. Like that can't be the motivator. That can't be the reason behind my running, why I'm doing it. It can't
hmm
be to run this time and this time and this time. It's not sustainable. It's not healthy. And so it was really just me seeing the impact that he had on all the athletes he coached and all the athletes he worked with, that made me be like, more so, what I can share from my journey as an athlete and what I'm going through is going to be more valuable, and it's going to make me feel more fulfilled from what I'm doing. And that was my route to kind of redefine what I wanted out of running. And then
Mhm.
community. It was also similar to the way that you found Heather. The community that I was able to get with the belay really helped me to get back into a good rhythm. It was just having teammates again was something that I needed, and people around me. And so then I actually started running so much better. Um, and I still grappled with some of the feeling like I needed to focus so much on times. And that was really kind of a struggle for me, even after I kind of had this realization. And I was running well during a period of time. And then, I got to a point where I was started to struggle. And then I went
Mhm.
back to that place where um, it was just so easy for me to then get sucked back into the focusing on performance. And for me, it was trying to qualify for the trials and doing the same races over
Mhm.
and over and over again, and it not being enjoyable. It kind of took having to hit rock bottom, which shouldn't be the way that it is, to
Mhm.
kind of reset that again and refigure out my why. And yeah, so I feel like the biggest thing for me now has become, I mean, I still want to run fast races. It's a motivator for me. I just like kind of enjoy having a target. But for me now, it's become redefining if I'm successful by the time, because we can only really control how the training goes. We
Right.
have the ability to really define that piece, but we don't pick the weather on race day. Marathons, especially, like, we need all things to align. And because we get a gym every once in a while, we don't have control over, every piece of that puzzle. So we kind of have to just be able to, like, how do we still be happy with a race that's not perfect weather or not ideal? And for
Yeah.
me, has become being able to look back at the process and really enjoy the process and feel, okay, yeah, I made progress. And whether or not the result's going to be able to show that is really not the important part. The important part
Right.
is that I know physically that I made progress in a variety of different ways, which will last me longer and will be things I can feel proud of, more so than just running a great race. So it's more of those things that I can check off the boxes on the way that have made me more um, kind of focused on that more than I feel like the times and the outcomes, which has helped a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think too, like as we get older,
yeah, yeah.
you
Oh yes,
know,
I was
'cause-
gonna say
yeah,
yeah,
yes, because I'll be 43 this year, and there comes a point where you have to understand that, like, okay, those times are behind me,
right,
and how can I still participate and give back to the sport
right,
where it's not all about me and my times?
right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that brings up a whole nother thing, because I've talked to athletes who are now masters athletes who are not running even close to the times that they've run in their lifetime. So
Mhm.
how do you then change that? Like, how do you still get excited about things? And I know that now, like, there's the age grading stuff that people will do if you are a person that's super motivated by, chasing some sort of standard, then that's something that you can do, is kind of think about the age grading. I've also heard there's an athlete on Runners Connect who was kind of tracking their decade PRs, which I thought was a kind of a cool concept of
Oh, that's
kind
cool. Yeah.
yeah, thinking more in terms of like smaller scale and what you can do in that frame of reference.
Hmm.
There was an athlete who her goal was to run Boston in every decade of her life, which was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Cool goal to have, because it's a moving standard there. And so I thought that was pretty fun. But yeah, I
I,
think, like, yeah, giving back. There's other things. It doesn't have to always be performance based, but yeah,
yeah, I really like that idea of shifting how the goals,
yeah,
because I think it's hard to get out of the mindset of PR. No matter my age, no matter anything, PR,
yeah,
versus a decade's PR or a master's PR
right,
or
yeah,
a Boston every decade. Like
yeah,
those are really unique
yeah,
and ideas, and I think Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that because I think that's a really fun way to look at it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's stuff like that. And then I also think too, like also having something along the like within the process that you can change and tweak or change and just see how it affects and stuff like that, I think can also be valuable. Like even if you
mhm,
just focus on nailing one small piece of your training,
mhm,
whether that be like your strength training, like you try to focus
mhm,
on a certain, lift and doing whatever and let the running be what it is and just see how what the outcome is,
mhm,
or being able to just kind of like, if race day doesn't end up great weather, can you kind of think about like, okay, let me assess like what can I do in this to be successful and be happy with it, and taking some of those contexts out of this. The time is not really the most important factor here. um,
yeah,
and I think that sometimes even looking at results and seeing how you place amongst people, whether you're passing people at the end of a race, I think is a really good goal for people to have, is to
mhm,
race a smart race. That was actually, I feel like, what I got the most out of my Columbus Marathon recently, was
mhm,
I felt like I raced smart and I was
mhm,
passing people towards the end. And
mhm.
so that is something you can always feel good about, no matter your time, is how you execute.
Yeah.
And I think
I
that's
do know
cool.
one thing that I've always struggled with, and I still struggle with is like the ego component. Because like, I went for so long, I was like at this place, and then I got to this place, and now I'm like in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be this runner who runs like these times, and like separating. What I need to do is I need to go read the book "Ego is the Enemy" by Ryan Holiday.
There you go.
Which I actually saw in one of those little like public library, and
Yeah.
like yeah, there's a little public library. I actually saw it in one down the street yesterday. May have to go pick it up.
Yeah.
Because we do like Strava.
Hmm.
I love Strava, but then it's like, oh my God, people are gonna like see that I'm like so
Yes.
slow, or that like my workouts aren't quite the same as what they used to be.
Yeah.
But the truth is, nobody cares. Like
Yeah.
nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's all in your head. It's
Yeah.
all in your head.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, and that I think is hard because even going from like I am so, I mean, I've gotten a little closer, but my PRs that I ran in the half marathon, it's they're so far off. Like I
Yeah.
haven't run close to that in so long, and it did take a decent amount of rebuilding because in 2020 I had to take I took 3 months off where I wasn't allowed to do really anything that got my heart rate up, but and then prior to that I was had a stress fracture.
Yeah.
So it was more like I had lost almost a lot of that. A lot of 2020 was like a wash. I didn't get a lot out of
Yeah.
it. And so rebuilding from that was probably the hardest that I've never had to go from that far, that far not having done anything, and
Hmm.
starting from that regard. So even
Hmm.
just like racing the first races that I did, I remember being so nervous for this 5K in Rocky Mount that the Tar River Runners puts on, the really great races they do over there in Rocky Mount. I was so nervous for that. It was a 5K, just like
Hmm.
a
Yeah.
local
Yeah.
5K. And
Yeah.
it was more, I think, that I was the ego. It was the
Yeah.
like, I know that I'm not ready to run a fast time, and this is going to be the fastest that I can run. And it's, I think I was going
Yeah.
for, I mean, I've run a 16:03 5K on the track, and I was hoping to run break 19. So just for
Yeah.
reference, I did run faster than that. I think I was giving myself a good, buffer for, not
Yeah.
disappointment, but it was the ego that was driving the
Hmm.
stress on that, was more that I was just like, people are going to see this result and be like, what happened? And even in,
Yeah.
even in Columbus, it was hard because I was hoping to run the trial standard, and it just wasn't going to be a day to run the trial standard. It was pouring
Yeah.
rain and 20-mile-per-hour winds and
Yeah.
just, bad weather. And so it was kind of like, well, that sucks because you don't get to show what my fitness was, and that's a
Yeah.
bummer. But at the end of the day, I raced the best race that I could do, and I'm really
So
happy
then,
about that. Yeah.
so then a question then for you, and I need to think about this too for me. Like, how do you combat that? Like, how do you combat when the ego is like creeping in and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what do you do?
For me, I feel like in that standpoint was just being like, this is where I am right now, and we're
Hmm.
gonna see if we can get faster. We're going to just focus on the progress that we are making and,
Mhm.
the day-to-day progress and, see if we can be faster in 6 months and 12
Yeah.
months, that kind of thing. Or, just thinking about season to season instead of year to year and all that
Yeah.
stuff, which I think was helpful to not get bogged down in like, 10 years ago I ran this fast.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and I'm not there anymore. And maybe I will be at some point, but kind of not
Mhm.
thinking too far in the past. Which my therapist that I work with actually was when I was kind of going through all this and coming back from it all was don't live too far I was living in the past and in the future. I wasn't really
Yeah.
living presently, and that was part of my problem. So I think
Yeah.
partially that, and then also just being like building up the fitness from where you are now and comparing yourself to where you were so more on a much smaller scale, I think is way more valuable than
Mhm.
kind of like thinking about how you have to be faster than you were, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. You just said that about being in the past and being in the future, which reminds me, have you read the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle?
I have not. I should
It
look that
is
up.
it's dense, but I find it very helpful as
Okay.
far as like getting present and being in the present moment. Um, and the other thing I was gonna say, oh, I know. Um, I find if you can have another purpose for the running, so we're doing this. I do a 5K, which by the way, everybody should sign up for, at my kid's school, and we're doing a run club leading up to it.
Yeah.
And I find that when I can like give back in that way and encourage, it's kind of like the passing of the torch, right? Like, okay,
Right.
I had my time, I did my thing,
Yeah.
and it's somebody else's turn. And
Mhm.
when you can make it about somebody else or something else, that helps, at least for me, to
Yeah.
like
Yes. Absolutely.
disconnect from that ego that's like always like, you're supposed to be here and you're
Yes.
not.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I do know also there are some times when like with Strava, like I will be like, you know what, I gotta get off Strava. Like I
Yeah.
can't, like I can't be on this right now. But again, nobody actually cares. Nobody
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I mean, even sometimes if I try not to scroll on social media too much, and also I try not to scroll on Strava too much, because I'll do the thing where it's like, well, I'm comparing myself to somebody else doing something, and then I'm like, that's not helpful because also like good for them if they're running faster.
I
Like
know.
good for them. That's good. That's
Hmm.
exciting. And you're like really happy about that. But
Hmm.
then it makes for whatever reason, sometimes I will start to internalize, like, am I doing enough? Which is,
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. And we all are different too. I mean, the
Yeah.
same thing, like with, my easy pace is maybe slower than people who run just as fast as me. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And so the other thing, I was going to say too is, well, actually, no, I was going to actually mention one thing from reading your story. The pre-GPS era
Yeah.
of running.
Oh my God. It was so glorious.
Honestly, it was. I was that because what you and I have in common there is that like you didn't start running with the GPS watch. I
Mm-mm.
didn't start running the GPS watch. I didn't get one until after I graduated college. So I think I got my
Mhm.
first one in, I don't know, 2013. I
Mhm.
actually stopped wearing it when I was running my PRs. I took it off because I was getting too obsessed with it. And it was mostly because going from an environment where you don't have all the data, you have data from when you do
Yeah.
workouts, but you
Yeah.
otherwise just know how long you ran for.
Mhm.
I mean, and you don't know your heart rate data.
Mhm.
You don't have this influx of data, and that makes it so simple.
So
And
simple.
I
Mhm.
think it just does also just allow you to be more present with it and go by effort, which I have harped on with so many of my clients is really to focus on the effort. And
Mhm.
that's something that I've had to work really hard on is like not running what I want to run, which is the ego piece, and running what my
Yeah.
body says I should be running.
Yeah.
And so that part and changing that in my training actually made a huge difference in how I ended up racing and
Yeah.
how I was building fitness. It was better than it was when I was trying to run paces that I wanted to run. Um, and so a lot of times it's like, let's figure out what that effort is. So I even wonder for you, like if you just kind of were going back to a simple Timex, like
Oh
what
my
that would
gosh.
do. Yeah.
Oh, and that is like, that is such a mental shift because you're like, but how am I going to keep track of how many
Right.
miles I ran? You know, how is Strava going to know that I like, how's my graph is going to dip and nobody, it's going to look terrible,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
again, nobody cares. Um, but I've often thought about just, yeah, you're right. I think you just have to get a time max. Being like, I'm going to run for an hour. I
Yeah.
don't know how far that's going to be. I don't know how slow that's going to be or how fast that's going to be, but I'm going to run for an hour. Or like, I know what my like 6 or 8 or whatever mile loop is. I'm going to run it and
Yeah.
no watch needed.
Yeah.
Um,
Just manually record those Strava, put those in there manually. That's what I used to do, and
yeah,
we would run for time, and I would call it like
yeah.
distance.
Do you remember like before the GPS watches ever like getting in your car and like driving around and being like, okay, this is 3 miles. I mean, you know, you're like, it's roughly, you're like, all right, looking at the speedometer or the
Right.
odometer. Is that what it is? The odometer? I might be wrong. You're like, all right, it's this many miles. I'm gonna drive this
Right.
far. So many miles it is, and that's clearly how many miles I just ran.
I never did that. We had loops when I was in high school. Chronically, I would lose my watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just never brought, I would forget it or lose it. So I never had my
Mm-hmm.
watch at practice. And I would just follow the other girls and they knew what the routes were. And they would be like, this is
Yeah,
a 5 mile route. This is a 3 mile route. This is,
yeah,
and then there was a lake near us that was, I think, 2 miles around. That was
yeah,
where I did all of my runs because I
yeah.
didn't know. Well, and actually, I was following the girls and they graduated, and then I didn't know any of the routes, but this one
Yeah.
3 mile route. So I was like, I guess I'm
Was
running
it?
3 miles all the
Yeah.
time now. Um, but yeah, no, I think that like I even think about this all from like when you're like the kid's perspective, like when you think about running when you're young and
Hmm.
how you really are just doing it for the joy of it and having fun
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. And there's no, it's just the simplest
It-
thing. Yeah.
you know, so we have run club. I do the run club for our school on Wednesday mornings, and
Yeah.
so we had it this morning. I am always amazed at they show up at 7:50 and we get started at 8. The amount of running that they do before it even starts. They're just like running, like
Yeah.
and they're wild. Granted, they're a little feral, a little wild, but that's okay. But then when we go out on the track, like they just like are smiling and running and racing, and it's it's so good to see, and it's a reminder that running should be joyful.
Yeah.
That it is just about getting outside and moving your body and having fun with it.
Yeah.
Because they're not worried about how fast you're going or how many laps you're running. I mean, there are a few. I will mind. Sorry if you hear my dog squeaking on a toy. I'm not sure if you can hear that.
Like my dogs were just running like hallway. I heard the wrong one.
uh, uh, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's some that are like racing and like really going at it, but like most of them are just like they're just out there having fun
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, it's a reminder that it's moving your body, it's getting out the energy. Like they're
Yeah.
getting ready to go sit in a class for 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
and they are moving their bodies and they're having fun
Yeah.
and they're with their friends. It's
Yeah.
social. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And then going back, oh, I remember what I was going to say earlier. Going back to running for somebody or for something.
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
I had a friend who was doing a marathon and she dedicated every mile to a person. And so then
Hmm.
it was like she was more so running for that person every
Hmm.
mile, which I
Hmm.
thought was a really cool concept. And it's also one of the reasons why I really like the Columbus Marathon. That and I have no affiliation with them. Number one, but it's the race is done for the Nationwide Children's Hospital, and
Hmm.
they dedicate every single mile of the marathon
Hmm.
to a different kid who's either in the hospital there, and then the kids, if they're healthy enough, they'll have them out in the course and they give them a little foam finger and you give
Aw.
high five.
Oh,
So
I
it
love
kind of
that.
also, yeah,
Yeah.
it creates like a really fun atmosphere that you can kind of enjoy that piece of it, seeing if you can
Mhm.
high five all the kids while you're out there, and they're very excited about the race itself, which is
Mhm.
also reminds you of that bigger picture
Mhm.
of like you know, they're so excited for you. They don't care how fast you run, like,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
that also brings up too, you know, the gear that we do have that Tracie is wearing. We're the goal with that, and what I've always wanted to do with Run for a Cause is create some sort of charitable wing to the organization where we actually are running for a cause. And so we're starting that with the gear. So we'll donate proceeds. Right now, I've chosen Bros for Girls because I think it's a really fantastic organization that keeps girls in sports. I know
Mhm.
personally that sports meant so much to me growing up. I played
Mhm.
soccer since I was 4. I was always super competitive, and being able to participate in them was never something that I thought that I couldn't do. And
Mhm.
you know, I think that the pain that I feel is when that there are a lot of girls out
Mhm.
there who
Yeah.
don't have that access, um, don't have they aren't having these conversations. And so big fan of that organization, and I've done some events with them, but which is why I think that I've gotten to know them, and they're great. So we
Mhm.
are partnering with Bras for Girls for on a larger scale. For we're not partnering with them, we have chosen them to, and I don't know that they know, but maybe they will after this. But
They're
in
gonna be very
terms,
surprised.
yeah,
It's like, "Woo, here
yeah,
you go."
yeah. So we're you know, we're trying to donate net proceeds for anything that we sell to Bras for Girls at the end of the year. And you know, ideally we'll change that charitable wing yearly, or whatever kind of the flow is, but that's kind of where we're starting. And
Mhm.
so that we're all kind of running for a
Yeah.
bigger picture.
Yeah, that's a great, yeah, I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah. So
Well, I know we are approaching our 30-minute
yeah.
goal.
And yes, let real quickly before you go. So running now, kind of talk us through a little bit of like, what is that for you right now? What kind of things are you goal wise? You have goals, or are you just kind of like going with the flow?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So running, I again still always struggling. But I am gonna run the Tobacco Road half. Just
Yay. Okay.
for because I'm like, all right, I know that I like to push myself. I
Yeah.
know that. And I know that the discipline of the miles and the workouts just help me get focused on like all of the other things.
Yeah.
And I am going to run the Valencia Marathon in December. So I got into that, which I'm super excited about.
Fun.
You know, I love Spain. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what reason can I have to go to Spain? That's a good
Yeah.
one. Um, so those are my like running goals. There are other life goals as well that I feel like, um, I'm able to put more work into when I do run. So, and I know that's weird, but and I'm sure you know this, like when you feel like when you don't run, you just feel so lost.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, it's what happened to the day? I don't know.
Yeah. Because even when I've been injured and I've tried to cross train, it just doesn't feel
It's not
the
the
same.
same. It's not. It's so weird. And you know, I know that there may come a point where I can't do that, and you're gonna have to find something else. But in the meantime, like that's what I really want to do is write a book on running and like my journey and like my experience. So I've been working on that.
Love that.
Yes, because I
Ooh.
just it's been like such a trajectory, and you know, for being injured for so long and
Yeah.
not doing great for so long, and then my hip injury and like kids and like getting the sub 3 marathon. It's been such an amazing journey that I feel like the world would be better if we all ran.
Yeah. I agree.
So so I want to like share if you again my dog is squeaking his toy. Again, just like share that journey and in hopes of inspiring other people to lace up and head out and you know go however far for however long, however fast or slow they want.
Yeah.
Um, so that's like my main thing right now.
Love it.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that I'm trying to channel that energy of like chasing fast signs into writing a book.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that like you also like if you want to chase fast times, yeah, I think you still have plenty of time to keep having fun with it and exploring that, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
reminding yourself that it doesn't define your relationships
Yes. Yes. Like
with so
I did a speed workout this morning.
I love it. You're gonna crush it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet and we should do this again. This was fun.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yes.
If you guys would love for us to do some more lives, just let us know. We'll make it happen. Like I said, this live I'm gonna try to post it on our YouTube channel also which is new, so it doesn't really have anything on that, but you can check it out. We're also going to put this on Instagram so that you can see it later, and then we'll link it in the blog post that Tracie wrote. So check that out, read the full story, dig in there a little bit more. I think she's got a lot of great, tidbits in there that I think can be super relatable, whether you're just out of college or have been a runner for a long time and are trying to figure out how to redefine that for yourself as you get older.
Mhm.
No matter where you are in that place, I hope you find some helpful tips in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you, Tracie, for joining
Thank
me.
you. Yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you read it, enjoy it, get something from it. And yeah, we'll hopefully do another one of these soon.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao. Bye.